That's it. We did it. Memorial Day weekend is over. It is Tuesday, May 28th. Everyone's in the saddle, ready to go. Carry on some momentum. Talking about Ford's big EV policy shift, politics of EVs, and Bass Pro. Yes, Bass Pro is talking about a word we've been talking about for a while. A little word called affordability. Not EVs. Affordability. They all go together at some place.
It's basically the same thing when you get down to it, right? EVs,
it all comes. I mean, doesn't it always come down to affordability?
That's what it comes.
But can I afford it? It's really the question.
What's my monthly payment?
Had a great day yesterday. We saw so many people like posting their Memorial Day posts, and a lot of people were out there on the lots moving cars. Some people were taking some time with family. But either way, like I was just getting good Memorial Day vibes like across the board. How about you?
Yeah, I think like going into the weekend, there was a lot of good energy around it. I haven't got a bunch of the, typically I've kind of got some sales report texts from friends. And so I haven't gotten that yet today. So I'm hoping that it's not doom and gloom. Everybody's just having like,
no one's sharing the bad news, right?
Like I hope it's happy hangover. If you're in the comments, let us know like how the weekend went for you. But, I'm sure it went well based on like the amount of inventory, the types of incentives.
Oh yeah.
The one thing that everybody was talking about last week that's not in the show today is, and we talked about it a little bit last week, just the overwhelming amount of incentives across the board, specifically on Stellantis units because they're struggling with some days supply. Yep. But there's incentives everywhere. I saw actually a comment on a post last week that basically a Lexus dealer is like, we still sell everything before it gets here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Toyota, Lexus. I mean, they're doing good. Good on them.
Okay.
Hey, we want to let you know we did release some of the main stage sessions from ASOTU CON. So now everybody can watch and kind of hear from these industry experts talking about some great stuff. We got into a lot of great panels. You can go to our YouTube channel. The easiest way to get there is to go to ASOTube. That's ASOTU.be. It'll take you right to our YouTube page and you can see the sessions right there. There's also a ton, I don't know, a gajillion pieces of content on our YouTube page that every time we go to it, we're like, dude, no wonder we're so tired all the time.
It's content for days. Yeah. The like, if you go there, you'll see the two playlists right up at the top, which is the More Than Cars playlist. If you haven't checked that out, you got to do that. And then the ASOTU CON playlist, we're going to keep adding stuff so you can bookmark that joker, subscribe, comment, all the things.
All the social media things. Let's talk about all the things today. So Ford, this is a big one, is set to undo a key element of its EV certification program. Remember that? Kind of caused a few waves when it happened. Opening up EV sales to its entire U.S. retail network following a lot of backlash, a couple, 2-3 lawsuits. So basically they plan to open the full network up to EV sales based on feedback from 11 in-person dealer meetings and extensive pushback. Initially limited only to dealers making significant investments in chargers. Remember, they had the tiers and the levels, which led to criticism and lawsuits from, get this, over 400 dealers and state associations.
Wow.
That is a busy legal department. That legal department needed its own mailroom. Basically, dealers were arguing the restrictions were unfair, potentially illegal, saying Ford cannot prevent its franchise dealers from selling Ford products. Lisa Drake, VP of EV programs, stated the goal of the new shift is to involve more dealers and reduce certification requirements to initiate a new, more inclusive approach, saying, quote, we'll be more ubiquitous with our training and make sure essentially all of our dealers are equipped to sell EVs. Attorney Rich Sox, representing dealers in New York, emphasized this is all about making sure all dealers have access to EVs and not just being pigeonholed into one of the three categories the program originally created. This makes sense.
So you're telling me, Paul,
oh boy, what happens?
That the franchise dealer network wants to serve their communities and sell the product that their OEM makes so that they can turn a profit and ensure that their OEM can wholesale more vehicles. And they also continually train their people so that they can do so at a margin that makes sense for them as a business.
It sounds like business. It sounds like business.
Here's the other cool thing about this. So you and I actually last week, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about this because we think it's really cool. Ford's new training platform, the Ford University, is actually really good. We were both cool. Kind of like, trepidatious kind of going into it, like, oh no, another OEM certification training program for salespeople. No, there's a really good thing happening there.
They've been doing something over there in the back channels.
You can scale that university into the EV training side of the business, and you can start getting people into training platforms that make a whole bunch of sense for the way that they learn and the way they educate themselves. Then the speed of adoption is going to go a lot quicker. And so it's kind of like those two things paired together with this recoil of let's go back to the beginning, the way that, the original drawing board threw up the franchise network. Let's go.
Speaking of the speed of adoption.
Stop. Segue.
This is interesting. We dialed in on Tuesday. As automakers are pushing their EVs, some consumers are resisting, not for range anxiety, not for cost, but for political reasons, highlighting a growing challenge in the EV market. So basically, this new report shows that many consumers oppose EVs due to political and ideological reasons, complicating the efforts of automakers trying to make and sell an affordable product. The Morning Consult poll found about 40% of Americans have an unfavorable view of EVs, with 38% citing political views and 63% concerned about Chinese dominance in the EV space. So conservative consumers often criticize public subsidies for EVs and regulations steering them toward electric cars, contrasting with liberal-minded folks who support EVs for environmental reasons. So we definitely have two sides of this coin here. Kia's Steven Center acknowledges EV hot button issue by saying, that old saying, don't talk about religion and politics. I think you can now add EVs to that.
This guy.
Mike Murphy, a Republican strategist, said, quote, "This is a hearts and minds resistance to EVs, mostly on the Republican side. If you can't break down the tribalism, the industry isn't going to sell enough EVs." And finally, Bill Wallace, a South Florida car dealer, noted that about 1/3 of his customers express adamant opposition to EVs. Viewing them as governmental control. Basically, he says, this is from a meeting he had with GM, and Mary Barra was actually there. They were all at the table. He says, They're angry. They feel like it's the government trying to control their lives. Mary, you have to understand the red state mentality. These people want no part of it. Well, that's not going to make it easier to sell EVs.
This is what's crazy to me, because doesn't matter where you're at from a political mindset. Fact that a retail purchase now has political influence is such a dangerous journey, because there are good things to EVs. One, they're super fun to drive. If you haven't,
I was just going to say that,
right? Start with that, right? And then also, there is a large swath of people that it makes a ton of sense, right? In places where it's easier to drive, it's their driving habits exhibit it. But then there's a lot that it doesn't make a ton of sense. And yes, there's probably a way too much political hand in a retail environment because of the desire to be clean from different people. That's the dangerous thing for me here, is that retail purchasing is being influenced by political mindsets.
I mean, that's not new though. It's not new though. I think just at this scale, it's absolutely staggering, right? And I think it's not just the clean energy thing. I think of even different mindsets on financial policy, right? And creating incentives and pumping money into the economy that we're printing is also more conservative minded people are thinking about those things as well, which basically it's I'm not going to do what you told me to do. This is bad for this, this, and this. So I think that that's also creating the turn. But like you said, if this ties back to the first story, as EV education increases, and as Ford in this instance is opening up to be in front of more consumers, and the value propositions of driving an EV, which is a great fit for so many people, Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, go back to, so we did the Man on the Street interview, the dealer on partner with us for during ASOTU CON, and then we released it last Friday. If you haven't, go to our LinkedIn, scroll down.
The Nashville one.
And it was really interesting, because it was a gentleman that worked for the live hotel that we've gotten to know. His nickname is Flash.
Flash.
And And the question is we always pose is, would you consider purchasing an EV? He said no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, if they were sporty and fun to drive, I would.
Wow.
Like, think about the implication of that.
Dude,
the
right EV will blow his face off when he gets into it. It's gonna be amazing.
That's a broad scale education issue.
I'm taking my wife away for our anniversary for a couple days this week, and I rented a Polestar. I have never driven one.
Smart.
And so like we're gonna have the Polestar experience. I have to admit, like right out of the gate, the range is only like 270. So I'm like, am I gonna have to charge this thing? Because I can't charge it at the Tesla chargers because I know right where they are. They're at the Wawa near where we're staying.
Oh man.
So I don't know. I'll document the story, but yeah, the more people get in it, drive it, it's gonna help sell it. But you know, a lot of times like getting through ignorance, not ignorance in a way like that person's so ignorant, but not knowing is what I mean. Like when you get past the ignorance of what an EV actually is, I think we can get back to selling, you know, retail products on the merits of the product. And I guarantee you all the OEMs want to get to that. Right. Yeah,
absolutely.
They're just kind of stuck in the middle. It's not an easy place to be in. Speaking of not easy place to be in.
That's right.
Segue.
Time. Clean that up on the last word. Thank you. Hey, the auto industry isn't the only one talking about affordability. Recently, in response to persistent inflation, the CEO of Bass Pro Shops, Johnny Morris, has emphasized the brand commitment to affordability by offering payment plans as low as $5 and $10 per day for boats to make them accessible to a broader audience. Despite ending its Inflation Buster savings program, the brand continued to see new ways to help customers cope with high inflation, such as maintaining competitive pricing by building most boats in the Ozarks and selling directly to consumers. He also reflected on the brand's origins and his father's influence on maintaining value, showcasing the original Bass Tracker boat was priced at, get this, $29.95.
I remember that.
Pretty wild. Yeah, you saw those things outside of the front of the Bass Pro Shops with the big
like I never wanted a fishing boat, but
for 3Gs, why not? They are also looking to increase connection and understanding of their consumer base. They've opened the Thunder Ridge Nature Arena featuring performances. Listen to like stars like Morgan
people that live near you, Kyle. Brian. These are people that live in Kyle's neighborhood.
right across the street from me, bringing together consumer experience and brand engagement. And they're thinking about pricing and affordability.
I have a few comments on this story. Number one, if Johnny Morris isn't the right name for a CEO of Bass Pro Shops, I don't know what is.
That's so clutch.
That's the right name, man. He's got the right name for that job. Maybe that's why
Johnny
Morris. I can already have Johnny Morris. He's wearing waders and a camo hat, and he's sitting in a board meeting, be like, "How are we going to do this?" Look, the affordability issue. Them understanding that affordability is a real issue, and boats similar. It's still like an expensive purchase that people make. Granted, a recreational purchase, but still the increased attention. Like, how do we make it so that the people who want these can afford them, and focusing payment terms, pricing terms, and all these things in a way that aligns with what a consumer can get. And then partnering with that with like doubling down on letting the consumer know that we understand who you are and what your life is, closing the gap between the two of those. I think that is why like Bass Pro is definitely closer to the consumer from a retail mindset than most dealers are, and which is why I think it's great that we see the auto industry moving more toward a retail mindset and less of like, how many times we've heard dealers talking about themselves as retailers more in the last 5 years than in the previous 100.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not just that, but you think about a Bass Pro Shop and it's an experience.
Yes.
It's not just like a regular old grab the thing off the shelf, place of shopping. It's a full experience. Like you can go there and experience the essence of being in the outdoors. And that type of experience, I think like that's where I think Jeep dealers, especially in Jeep and new Jeep dealerships, have really thought through what's the experience of being in the retail Jeep environment. And I think that's something that everybody can key in on. And just the fact that Bass Pro is thinking about like 8 of the 10 topics that automotive is also
thinking
about. Also, you should look up a photo of Johnny Morris. You nailed him.
Did
He's
I
also
really?
the founder. He's not just the CEO of this thing. So he started.
Maybe that's why he started the company.
Started
Oh,
in
there he
72 by
is.
selling fishing tackle out of the back of his father's store. This guy's the real deal.
That is amazing. Did he play football too? I don't know. But I don't know. But either way,
He probably played football.
Probably did. Who's Phil from Duck Dynasty also was a pro football player. And like,
Absolutely.
Oh, man, what a fun show. Fun way to kick off a Tuesday. We hope you're all ready to get out there, get your hands dirty, get closer to the consumers. And guess what? They'll actually tell you exactly what they want. We'll see you tomorrow.